The following is intended for mature audiences only. Discretion is advised.
What's up, besties? This is episode 19 of Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes, and hey, I'm still the second part of that title. First and foremost, I wanted to thank all of you for coming out to Fort Lauderdale to come see my band, Mike Valdes and the Noise. We had so much fun playing some music for you. Such a great crowd. You guys were so welcoming and loving, singing along. It was really, really awesome. Thank you so much for coming. And also, Orlando, I love you, Orlando. Thank you for coming to the Geek Easy. That was a really fun show. I really appreciate everyone who came out. That was super fun. And I hope I can be in town again soon. Today's episode is my good friend Ali Garcia. Ali is an improviser, and she is with the Society Circus Players, an improv team from Miami. In fact, if you're in the Miami area, they're going to be having a show at Duffy's Tavern in Miami, October 12th. That should be a really good show. They're a really funny team, and I guarantee you that you're going to love them. This episode is really fun. We talk a little bit about where Ali grew up. We also talk about the TGIF lineup and also improv comedy. I think you guys are going to love this episode. So without further ado, please enjoy my friend Ali Garcia. Hey everybody, this is Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes. Hey guys, guess what? I'm Mike Valdes. And today I have a very special guest with me, Ali Garcia.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Awesome. Before we get started, before I ask you the first question, here at Childlike at Best, we like to take a Flintstones vitamin. So, here are the Flintstones Complete Gummies.
Very important. I used to take the non-gummy version of these as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone did.
Yeah, of course. Is it a dog? What is this?
It's probably Pebbles.
Yeah.
So, as you're taking that, can you please tell the audience where you grew up?
I grew up in a little town called Holt, Michigan.
Whoa.
Yeah, which is like 15 minutes outside of Lansing in East Lansing, where Michigan State University is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. How long were you there?
I lived in Michigan until I was 24. And then I lived abroad for a year and a half. And then I came back to Michigan for, I think, like 6 months. And then I moved down to Miami.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
And where did you go when you went abroad?
Korea.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I lived in South Korea, yeah.
Okay. That's really great. What would you say is the big difference between Michigan and Miami, Florida?
The big difference? I only get one?
No, we have all the time.
So many.
to make fun of everyone here.
Yeah. Well, I guess growing up in Michigan, I had a different experience because my dad is Cuban. So, the Cuban culture wasn't totally foreign to me.
Sure.
But, in Michigan, if you're Cuban, you're exotic.
Yeah.
And down here, if you're Cuban, you're like everybody else.
Yeah, you're Beepo or Papo or whatever.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. So that was, different. But also just, I don't know, the attitudes are really different here of people. In Michigan, people are nice.
People say hi to you for no reason.
Yeah, people say hi to you. They smile.
If they do that here, you think they're going to kill you.
Right, yeah. They'll let you go first in line sometimes.
Yeah. That never happens here.
It did. It happened to me the other day at Publix at the deli counter.
Really?
A guy was like, "No, you can go." And I was like,
"Well, that's different."
Thanks, sir.
That's different. That was his weird way of hitting on you.
Right, yeah.
No. I'm going to let that broad get some ham before me.
Yeah.
I don't know why someone from Miami talks like that, but so who would you say that you were at school? Who did you hang out with at the lunch table, that kind of thing?
Oh, wow. I was a theater band geek.
Sure.
I was deep in that.
Me too.
But my high school, actually, I have to say, my high school was really a beautiful place. And you watch all of those high school movies, which I love. Mm-hmm. And they all operate basically on the idea that there's the popular people and the jocks and the theater kids and all of these stereotypes, which are funny. But my high school really wasn't like that. People genuinely did get along with each other. We had a really good special ed program.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of special education kids there, and the football players kind of adopted them and made sure no one made fun of them. The popular kids talk to everybody. Not necessarily, I wasn't invited to the parties, but they weren't mean to me.
Sure.
So that was really nice. But yeah, I just had my...
I wasn't invited to the parties, but they weren't mean to me. That's funny to me. Because it's like kind of mean. But that's so funny.
True.
They called me names. They just didn't hurt me.
By the time I graduated from high school, I did get invited to the party. I didn't go to it. I didn't go. Yeah. But I got invited, and I was like, well, I've made it. Yeah. Like, here we are.
I mean, say your expectations higher. But
I'll never see any of you again. Yeah. But thank you for inviting me to a party that I am not going to go to.
That I'm not going to, right. Yeah. Tell me more about the theater program and all these things that you did. Like, were you in a bunch of plays and stuff like that?
Kind of. So I was deep in marching band. I took 4 years of band so I wouldn't have to take gym.
What did you play?
Trombone.
Okay, me too.
Yeah.
How funny is that? Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
I thought it was the funniest instrument. That's
it is
why.
Yeah, it is. Well, so we start band in 6th grade.
Yeah.
So in 6th grade, I actually played the French horn, which is like, I mean, if we're talking about the hierarchy of band, like French horn is like, it's the bottom. Yeah. Like the only thing below that is like your tuba players. Mm-hmm. But they've embraced it. Yeah. Right? French horn kids are still like, I want to be cool.
I would disagree. I think French horn is the bottom of the barrel because playing tuba got cool once Outkast came out. Like once Outkast put out Bombs Over Baghdad, everyone was like, oh, I want to play the tuba.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right.
And actually, I just saw the Roots in concert and they have a tuba player. Yeah. And that dude is killing the game like I have never seen.
They're all killing the game.
True.
They're like some of the best musicians in music.
Of course. But to just watch a dude running around playing tuba, I was just like, you are blowing my mind, sir.
It's awesome.
Well done.
Yeah.
But you don't see somebody running around playing French horn. Like, that's just not a thing. Like, not even, what is it, euphonium. You don't really see.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I never really considered that it kind of is like, it's in the sense of like, a regular rock band, like the French horn is like the bass. Like people need it, but like no one's gonna be butthurt if it's not there. Right. You know what I mean?
Like if it's there, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's the cherry on top.
Well, not even like to a musician, it's like completely necessary. But a regular listener's like, I mean, who cares? You know?
So I played French horn for a year. And I'm
assuming you were first chair because you were the only person.
There were 3 chairs. It was me and 2
empty chairs,
tiny little boys who were wrestlers / band kids, and they quit eventually. And I was like, no cute boys play French horn. I'm done with this.
No,
I'm done with it. And so then I moved to trombone, and that was much more fun.
Yeah, that's way more fun. It sounds like a sliding fart, and then you can hit people in the back of the head, by sliding it. Right. That was the best instrument.
But pretend like you didn't know, you just aimed directly for the back of their skull. You're like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. 7th position's farther than I thought. Oops.
Yeah, oops. I'm just trying to play my scales.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah, I was in band till like maybe 8th grade, and then that's when I moved over to choir because my choir teacher was needing guys, and she was like, oh, if you come to my class and I
think it's like every choir teacher.
Is that what it is?
I think so. Like every choir teacher is just like, if you are a boy, please be in choir.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that changes soon, but
I hope so too. And to be fair, I mean, the reason why I went in the first place, and then I fell in love with it later on for a different reason, but the reason why I went in was because I was like, so you're saying I'm the only guy in just a room full of women? This is awesome. So that's why I started it, and then I found my love for singing and things like that later on, and writing music and things like that. So then from band, you went to theater, or was this both at the same time?
Concurrent, yeah.
Yeah?
Because I didn't take theater class.
Okay. It was an after-school thing?
Yeah, I just did like the after-school stuff. I actually choreographed one of the musicals.
Nice.
Yeah, because I danced for a long time too.
Which one?
Guys and Dolls.
Nice.
Yeah, I've had very small like speaking parts. I wasn't good at theater. I just liked hanging around.
Yeah.
And I worked in the costume room, which was where like I didn't care if I never stepped on stage. I was just like, I want to be in this costume room. I want to like see all the weird stuff in here. I want to give people their costumes. I want to like help people pick out outfits. I want to organize.
Man, can I tell you this? Did you go to a public school or a private school?
Public school.
Okay. I went to a Christian private school, and our costume room was in the balcony of the auditorium, which is where they would have these baptismal classes every Sunday.
Okay.
And so I don't know if you've ever been in like a church, and this is going to sound funny, but I'm serious. There's nothing scarier to me than a church in the dark.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's mostly because you see the silhouette of those weird pictures of Jesus. Mm-hmm. Like, that really scares me.
And the shadows that happen, you're like, I'm not... And depending on the lighting, there's like flickering and movement.
Right.
Yeah.
And not only that, like, all these pictures of Jesus that I've ever seen, like, they never actually look like what Jesus would look like.
Right.
At least what I'm thinking he would look like. Like, he was very blonde-haired, blue-eyed, like, that kind of, like, Americanized Jesus. And so there's like all these like weird pictures of Jesus. And then there's like the costume department. And it was like you had to pass these like scary pictures of Jesus to get to our costume room. It was so scary every time. I hated it. I mean, now I've embraced the comedy of it. But it's just like growing up when you're a Christian, you almost feel like you can't tell someone that a picture of Jesus scares you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You can't be like, oh, it scares me to be at church, because they're like, oh, that's because you're demon possessed and we need to exorcise you.
Right.
So, or
like, no, it's just scary.
Yeah, it's super scary. Like, that's what it was. So when you went home, what would you say were your earliest fandoms?
I watched a lot of TGIF as a kid. Like,
Sure.
I feel like my formative years were all just Friday nights, we would get a pizza and we would watch TGIF, and like that was it. And I watched every iteration there was.
Sure.
Like, okay, obviously Full House was a staple.
Yeah.
Family Matters, staple.
Yeah.
But then there was like the Hanging with Mr. Cooper years. Mm-hmm. There was the one, there was another one about a family that had like Patrick Dempsey in it.
Step by Step.
Okay, yeah, Step by Step.
Yeah, and Suzanne Summers.
Yep. There was the one about a guy who was a coach.
That was Hanging with Mr. Cooper. He was a coach.
No, in the opening credits, he had he had like balding hair, and he would fluff out the sides of his hair and hang a spoon on his nose and look like a koala bear.
What the heck?
I don't know.
What a weird
But I'm pretty sure
show.
that was on TGIF. Of course, Boy Meets World.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of Boy Meets World.
Yeah, me too. That's one of my favorite shows of all time.
And then when it started to get crappy, they got Matthew Lawrence, who I was in love with. And I was like, all right, I'll be here for this.
I don't think the show ever got crappy, at least in my opinion.
When
I
they go
loved
to college, it always gets like questionable.
Ish, but I love that at the same time, because they really were showing like real life lessons. But to be fair, I didn't appreciate it until I got older. You know, when you're a kid, you're just like, oh, it's weird. They're married now, you know, but I remember all those shows. Man, I'm trying. Now it's going to kill me, this show that you're talking about.
I don't think it lasted very long. I think it was like 2 seasons.
Watch it be like Coach Koala Bear or something.
Yeah.
That was the name of the show. And we're just like, what was Coach Koala Bear? Because like I remember Home Improvement being on TGIF. I remember.
Yeah, we watched a lot of Home Improvement in my house.
Yeah, I would assume, being from Michigan, Tim Allen is like the president of Michigan,
he
right?
He is the president of Michigan, yeah. These are facts.
Yeah, and he's the Santa Claus of Michigan as well.
He's it.
He's the Santa Claus of everybody. Like, whenever I imagine Santa Claus.
But he's specifically ours.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So,
Sabrina the Teenage Witch,
I think,
was on there for a while.
That was a real good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 Guys, a Girl, in a Pizza Place.
2 Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place was solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did it go off and then come back after a little while?
Yeah, it went off and then they rebranded to just 2 Guys and a Girl. Mm-hmm. Which is super ironic because, have you ever seen 13 Reasons Why?
No.
No? Okay,
I won't either.
It's okay. You don't have to. There's this guy that's on it. His name is Tony. And he's one of the few characters where you look at them and you're like, are you sure you're in high school? Because you're 45.
There's always one. In every high school show, in every high school movie, there is a guy who's 45.
No, he's straight up like, he looks every bit of 45, though. Like, it's not like, oh, he looks like he could be 18. No, he straight up looks every bit of 45 years old. And anyone who's ever seen the show is dying laughing right now because it's so true. And he apparently was married to the star of Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place.
Really?
Yeah, because he's 45.
Right.
You know? But yeah, it's super strange. Like, I found that out. A friend of mine told me that, and I was like, wow, it really goes to show you how old this dude is. Holy cow. That you're married to that girl.
Ryan Reynolds was in that show.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds is 45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ryan Reynolds was like 20 when that show came out.
Yeah, he was young.
Yeah, he was real young. It was before he started playing the traditional
The Van
douche characters.
Wilders. Yeah.
It's so funny because I've never been able to talk to anyone about TGIF because usually some of my friends are a little younger, so they remember the shows because they've seen them on Hulu or
right.
Repeats or whatever. They just never remembered it was called TGIF or whatever. I find it so funny that the most watched day of television was on a Friday night.
Right.
Like, how weird is that? Like, now it's just like, I wouldn't stay home on a Friday night for anything.
Right.
Like,
Now I feel like Tuesday's the sweet spot.
Yeah, Tuesdays or Sundays or like just days where no one goes anywhere. Like, it was a thing in the 90s to be like, no, I can't do anything.
Well, it was a thing in the
is on.
90s in Holt, Michigan, for sure.
I think it was a thing in America. I think it was a thing in America, though, because, like, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I just think it was like a real popular thing. It's just strange that's that's what it was. So you had TGIF. Like, what kind of movies were you into? You've talked about like these teen comedies that you liked as well.
Yeah. So yeah.
Were you always into those?
Into teen comedies?
Yeah.
No, not until I was like out of high school, I think.
Oh, okay.
There are a bunch of movies. So I went to a babysitter forever when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, if it was up to my father, I would still be going to a babysitter.
Right.
But all through elementary school and even into middle school, I went to a babysitter, and we would watch movies there, obviously.
Yeah.
To like entertain or whatever. And we would watch Beetlejuice.
Nice.
At least once a week.
Wow.
We watched like Kindergarten Cop at least once a week.
Wow.
They were like these movies that I loved as a kid, and I've watched them now, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Like, why did you love this?
Yeah.
Also, who was letting you watch this when you were like in 5th grade? Like,
Yeah,
this
that's
is
true.
not appropriate.
That's true.
But
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, those movies are good. They're just really... Beetlejuice is really dark, at least for a child.
Yeah, right.
It's like, because the main theme is death.
Right.
I don't know if you ever remembered, they made an animated series of Beetlejuice.
I remember it.
Yeah.
I do.
So it was nothing like the movie whatsoever.
Because there were some like after school cartoons
Yeah. But
that I vaguely remember.
Yeah, like Lydia was more a main character in this movie, as was Beetlejuice. If you've ever seen Beetlejuice, he's in the movie for 13 minutes. Like, he's barely in the movie at all, because it's not really about him. But this was like, she says Beetlejuice 3 times, and then they go on these like fun, wacky adventures, and it's not about death at all. It just happens to be these creepy snake-looking things, and like, all these weird things. So strange. Like, they even had a Back to the Future animated series. Like, there was nothing like the movie other than the fact that like they would use a DeLorean every now and again. Like, it was nothing like the movie. It was so strange. If anything, we're kind of getting there again with just like with movies instead of with TV shows. But the 80s and 90s was like, if it was a successful movie, we made a TV animated series.
I was just thinking that I thought this was like a current issue. But really, you're right. It has been around forever. Like, hey, this thing did well. Let's ride it until the wheels fall off.
Yeah. And now it's like, this thing did well 20 years ago. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Or with a different actor or whatever the case, or make a continuation. I was just telling a friend a couple of days ago, we were talking about Napoleon Dynamite. I was like, well, it's due for a sequel in 2 years.
Yeah.
That awkward 15 years later sequel that no one asked for. Like, because like, I don't know if you saw Dumb and Dumber 2, but it was a train wreck to watch.
I could barely make it through Dumb and Dumber 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I couldn't make it through Dumb and Dumber 1, but that's because of a different story. I wasn't allowed to watch Jim Carrey movies when I was growing up.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So I had to sneak a lot of Jim Carrey movies when I was a kid, which is really strange. But I mean, I don't know if you ever did, but did you ever have to sneak anything? Like, did you ever have to sneak watching movies or even...
No, I didn't really ever sneak anything, no.
Really? Either your parents allowed you or you just didn't have an interest?
Yeah, it was
Pretty
both.
much?
Yeah,
It was both?
I think it was both. I'm an oldest child, sort of.
Yeah.
So I kind of just knew, like, we're people pleasers. Like, all I
Sure.
want is for everyone to just tell me I'm doing good and, like, to please my parents and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I was never grounded. I, like, never did anything rebellious or anything like that. That was my little sister.
That's really funny. Because, like, I did, like, rebellious things or whatever, but now that you're saying that, I don't think I got in much trouble ever when I was a kid, because I think the guilt that was in my family and the shame that it brought upon me was enough that my parents were like, it's fine. Like, just leave him alone. He's not going to get over it. Right. You know, like that kind of thing, which is true. Like, I was very ashamed of myself in every way. But yeah, so did you have any commercials that you remember? Anything that's still in your craw?
I don't know if I could recall one now, but I can hear songs that I haven't heard in 15, 20 years and still remember lyrics. Same thing with, like, commercial jingles.
Yeah.
Actually, the Big Red commercial.
Yeah.
Longer with Big Red. That Big Red freshness lasts right through it. Your fresh breath goes on and on while you chew it. That one I remember.
Man, it is so funny how while you were singing that, like, I'm starting to understand those ASMR weirdos a little bit, because when you sang that, it, like, got this, like, the back of my head, like, started tingling, where I was like, you remember this?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that brings me back, dude.
Yeah.
Like that, and like freaking Mentos fresh and full of life. Mentos, the French maker.
Mentos, the French maker. Or there's a double mint one too.
Yeah.
Double the freshness, double the fun. That's a statement of the great mint, double mint gum. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, and they hired only twins.
And yeah. Only white twins.
Yeah, of course. That's the only way it works.
Commercials back in the day. Wow.
Yeah, and then what was the other one? Because Wrigley's had 3 real big gums. Was it Winter Fresh? Is that the name of the gum?
That's okay. That is a gum.
Where, like, the girl, it was usually a girl. She was, like, hanging out at, like, her office or something. And then she puts in a stick of gum, and then she's, like, in the Alps. And then she's like, well, guess I better go skiing. Like, because it's like, hey, does your job suck? Have a stick of Winter Fresh gum. Like,
right. That logic we were talking about earlier, applied to gum commercials.
Yeah, like gum commercials and, like, I mean, the stuff for like kids products was always funny to me.
Do you remember My Buddy?
Yeah,
My Buddy and Me.
Yeah.
And then they had Kid Sister, and I was always horrified. I was like, I don't know why anybody would want those toys.
Right.
Those seem horrifying. Like, if I had that in my room, I know that I would look at it in the middle of the night and its eyes would open and it would, like, stand up and strangle me.
I mean, to be fair,
I couldn't.
The My Buddy doll was what made the people that made Child's Play create that idea.
Yeah.
Where they were like, oh, we should make a doll that kills people.
Right.
Because that seems like it would kill you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because My Buddy looks straight up like Chucky. Like, that's what he looks like.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I had a Teddy Ruxpin, and it was terrifying. You're right. Absolutely. It was awful. If you don't know what it is, listener, it was a teddy bear with a tape deck in the back, and you would put in a tape, and then the idea was that the bear would read you the story. Mm-hmm. It seemed better on paper.
And the thing was, like, I feel like one of my friends had one, or I saw one time, and it wasn't like a squishy, nice teddy bear.
No, it was like 45
pounds. It was a plastic box of a teddy bear covered in that creepy fur that you can buy at the fabric store. Yeah. And its mouth just goes, like, up and down.
Yeah. And you hear go
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if it was broken, it would go It was awful.
Yeah.
It was really scary to listen
terrifying.
to that.
Very terrifying. I'm still scared of kids' toys.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you just mostly Teddy Ruxpin or
No, just
now
like
kids'
all
toys?
kids, like kids' toys now. Like a lot of my friends have kids or whatever, and their toys are just like they're all dolls that like have those dead eyes that just like wink at you, or it's like robots that talk, which I struggle with. It's just kids' toys are scary.
I didn't think that kids had toys anymore.
There are kids' toys. They do exist. My nephew, so I have a nephew. He just turned 3. He loves dogs. So for Christmas last year, he got a dog that like you can make it like flip around. You can feed it a treat. It'll poop out the treats.
Of course.
And even that, I was like,
That's
this
the most
is
fun.
disturbing.
Yeah, extremely. That's extremely disturbing. There was a doll that they made for girls where
And
like
she peed.
she peed all over herself, and you're like, oh, guess I gotta change her. Like it was like training little girls to be moms.
Yeah.
So strange, right?
Very strange, yeah.
And then I guess in the 90s, it was like if you're a guy, everything was a gun. I guess it was trying to push you to be in the army or like something like that.
It's weird to think about that now as adults. Yeah.
Because
Really?
everything geared towards men, even army commercials, it was like, how extreme are you? Are you not a man? Like, that's everything. Like,
Yeah.
and they
Like,
even...
I thought it was a man.
yeah.
Me and my trombone.
They even played with that idea in the movie Mulan. You know, the whole... There's a whole song about, like, I'll make a man out of you.
Make a man
Yeah.
out of you. Yeah.
It's weird to think that was Donny Osmond. But yeah, what about cereal? Were you a cereal fan growing
I'm
up?
still a cereal fan.
Yeah?
Cereal is one of my favorite foods. I
Me
eat it
too.
for dinner sometimes. Yeah, my favorite cereal as a kid, we didn't really have sugar cereal in the
Sure.
house. I don't know why that was really. We did have, so my dad had, do you remember honey, they were Sugar Smacks?
Yeah.
And then they became Honey Smacks.
Yeah.
We always had, not a box of those, but my mom had a Tupperware container. And that was my dad's cereal.
Okay.
That's dad's cereal. So if we wanted some, we had to ask dad because that was the cereal that he liked.
This seems to be a common theme. I've had another guest whose dad was a very big Honey Smacks fan.
Yeah, and that was dad's cereal.
Yeah, that was a dad cereal.
Yep.
For sure.
But I really loved like honeycomb.
Yeah.
But my favorite cereal as a kid was Kix.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So good.
There was one that they did forever ago, and it was my favorite version of Kix, where they would have like these like berries in it. Do you remember this?
I think it was like, wasn't it just called Kix with berries? Kix with red berries?
Something like that. Yeah, where like the ratio was like 1 berry Kix to every 4 or 5 kicks.
Yeah.
You know? So it was, and like the berry one was super sweet, so you would always dig through to get the
Yeah.
purple ones.
I'm a purist. I just love regular cereal. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you remember any cereal commercials? Because all of those were always really funny too.
The Sugar Smacks one had that frog that would
Yeah.
like jump around.
Yeah.
Of course, there's the Tricks commercials.
Yeah.
Right. Silly Rabbit tricks are for kids.
Right.
Did he actually ever get Tricks? Ever?
No.
He has
no.
never in the history of the world gotten Tricks.
This is a predicament that I've had with people because he's the one that's explaining how good they are, but apparently he's never had them. So why is he explaining how good they are? Shouldn't it be the kids?
Right.
Because
He doesn't know?
I'm assuming,
Right.
or he had them and we never saw him have them, and he's just going off of the memory of that one time. You know,
That's
because
how good they are. You smell Kicks one time.
well, to be
Or
fair,
Tricks. And that's the only thing you can think about.
to be fair though, a lot of these cereals, the marketing was like, this cereal is crack. You know,
Yeah.
like you're going to get addicted to this thing. That's how Corn Pops commercials were. All of the
Corn Pops. Those are so good.
yeah, I mean, there was actually a video on YouTube of a guy who went through the Corn Pops commercials and went through the 5 basic psychology rules of addiction. It was like, this is what actual drug addiction is, and it ticks all 5 of these things for this Corn Pops commercials.
That's so funny.
Where it's like you tend to ignore anyone trying to help you. Like you don't listen to your parents anymore. All you can care about is the thing that you're addicted to.
Wow.
Like it's crazy when you look at those commercials like that. Also, it stars Aaron Paul, and he was in Breaking Bad, so it's technically a prequel to Breaking Bad. So there's that as well. But
foreshadowing, as they say, yeah.
Exactly. It was foreshadowing. So a thing that we like to do here at Childlike at Best is we like to review a box of cereal, and usually I like to review a cereal that has something to do with my guest in some way, shape, or form. So I spoke with my sponsors over at Funko. Now, by sponsor, I mean that I like them, and I buy all of their products. And by spoke to, I mean that I tweeted them repeatedly and they didn't get back to me. So
they're on the way. The tweet's on the way.
It's happening. Yeah. No, I do tweet them. They never answer me. So so the cereal that I got for you,
I'm so excited about this,
was Harley Quinn cereal.
How fun.
Yeah. And so the reason why I got this for you is because you're a society circus player.
I am.
Right? Which is like kind of a clown. You know, but also like you like also have a day job, which is what Harley Quinn is. Yep. She's a clown, but she also has a day job.
I do have a day job.
Like she's like, I just mean like she's like a normal person until she's a clown.
Right.
Like that kind of thing.
Also, it's multi-grain, I have to say.
It is.
That's very exciting.
It is. So I am going to open this box of cereal and pour some into my Reptar cereal bowl, and I'll make sure to mic it so that way all these ASMR weirdos can...
Yeah, they're going to like that.
Yeah, loop it and make it their ringtone.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Batman the Animated Series or any of these Harley Quinn things?
I did see Suicide Squad.
You did?
And yes, I did.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's time I won't ever get back.
Yeah. It's so bad.
It was ungood.
What does that mean?
Like, I've seen movies that were worse, like way, way worse.
Yeah.
But they kind of lean into the worstness.
I guess.
And this was just, like, I'm not mad that I spent money on it, but...
I feel you. There's a lot of things that made me upset about that movie. One thing is definitely for sure, the movie was like if Hot Topic became people... And then they all started fighting each other.
Yes.
That's what that movie looks like.
Accurate.
It also felt like they would ask Will Smith to do scenes, and they'd be like the scene in particular where he's holding the gun and shooting all the things, shooting all the targets. And he's like, I've got to get me one of these, or like whatever it is that he says. I feel like they did that a couple of times, and then the director was like, yeah, but can you do it more like Will Smith? You know,
right.
And he's like, I don't know what you mean. and then they
had playing a character, and they were like, but how about Will Smith?
Yeah. Can you like just be Will Smith? Like just be like, oh hell nah, like I gotta get me one of these. And he's like, I mean, I guess. So ironically, right. It seems like he was held at gunpoint to make that movie. And also, they went back to make like a whole bunch of jokes, and they made, to me, like it's like a Big Bang Theory style of comedy. You know, where it's not really a joke. It's just a thing. So like Killer Croc, that's the character. Where you remember when they go in to his jail cell and they're like, hey man, what are you watching? He's like, BET. And that's the joke. Like you're supposed to laugh that he's watching BET.
And there's just silence and you're like, I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's is that a joke?
Right.
I don't get that.
Right.
So that's kind of like how Big Bang Theory does a lot of their jokes. There was a scene in particular where they were playing foosball, and one of the characters was like, we'll be the Autobots and you guys be the Decepticons. And then it got this huge laugh. And it's like, that's not a joke. Those are just things.
Yeah.
That's literally like saying, I'll be blue, you be red.
Yeah.
You know, and then people laugh because you said colors. You know, like...
Red is so funny.
Yeah. Wow, colors. Those are things.
Yeah, I
so
can't.
strange.
A lot of sitcoms I can't watch. I don't laugh at them.
You know what's really strange, especially about Big Bang Theory, is that everybody knocks them for having canned laughter. Those people are real. That's the thing that blows my freaking dick off.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, I can't imagine real people finding that funny.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But there really is a studio audience full of people finding that funny.
I mean, maybe someone's cueing them. Maybe they're just really good at cues.
I mean, they better be getting paid.
I hope so. Yeah,
I don't think they are, though. I really think that those people just go because they love the Big Bang Theory.
Bless them.
I mean, someone's got to like it, am I right?
That's been on forever too, right?
Yeah, to be fair, there's more people that like it than people that don't.
Yeah.
And it's mostly people like us that don't like it who are the people that they're depicting on that show. So it's everyone, it seems like the masses are laughing at us,
right?
Which is why we don't like it, because we're like, we're not like that. But it's true. So anyway, going back to what we were going to do, it would be fun to review this serial, but I think it would be more fun to review this serial as Harley Quinn. So I'm going to go ahead and play some Harley Quinn music, which I have no idea what I'm going to play here. Can't think of a single song from the Suicide Squad soundtrack that would sound good on this, but we'll pick one. Here we go. And you can review this serial as Harley Quinn. Good enough for me. That's so loud.
Kind of tastes like Apple Jacks and bubble gum.
Apple Jacks and bubblegum?
Yeah.
That's such a strange combination.
I dropped one. It's lost forever. Yeah, Apple Jacks and bubblegum.
That's it?
That's all I got.
Well, Harley Quinn, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you. I also do impressions, ladies and gentlemen.
This episode of Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes is brought to you by Ugly Drinks. Ugly is a company that makes sparkling water with real fruit flavor. No sugar, no sweetener, nothing artificial. And with every purchase, a percentage goes to the Girl Up campaign. Ugly Drinks comes in delicious flavors like peach, lemon lime, cherry, and my personal favorite, watermelon. And guess what, Childlike at Best listeners? You can receive 10% off your first order by using the code UGLYMIKE at checkout. It's true. Usually calling me ugly would be offensive in real life, but at uglydrinks.com, it'll save you money. Visit uglydrinks.com and use the code UGLYMIKE to get 10% off your order. It's time to get real. It's time to get ugly. So let's move on to what you're doing now. You're a part of the Society Circus Players.
Yeah.
Am I right? Mm-hmm. I'm always afraid that I'm going to get the name wrong in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's a long one, yeah.
It's not that it's long. It's just that I'm afraid that I'm going to say circus first or society first or I don't know. It's weird. I have dyslexia as well, so there's that. But I have dyslexia. So, but when did you start doing improv?
I started improv, I want to say 7 years ago. My first ever improv show was on my birthday, so it's easy to count back.
Okay.
So at that point, I guess I'd been doing improv maybe like 6 months or so.
Did you start here in Florida? Or
I did.
You? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny. I used to watch Whose Line Is It Anyway with like my family. And my mom was always like, you could do that. You should do that. But I didn't have access to that. Like, no one's doing improv in Holt, Michigan. Like, please. Yeah, I came down here and had a friend at the time who did improv and was like, hey, I think you could do this. Do you want to try? And I was like, yeah, I got nothing else to do.
It's funny that you say that because I have a very similar story with my family as well, where we would go to theme parks like Universal Studios or things like that, and we would go on Jaws, and we would see those like skippers, I guess. Mm-hmm. And every skipper was different. Sometimes you'd have a good one, sometimes you'd have a bad one. And if they were good, it made the ride awesome. And if they were bad, it was the worst ride of all time. My parents were always the people that were like, you should do that. That should be your job.
Yeah.
And I just find that funny because your parents expected more of you. Like, they were like, oh, you could be on TV.
Right.
My parents were like, you could work at Universal Studios, you know? Thanks, Mom.
But,
I really appreciate that.
But I was also just a really shy kid for a really long time.
Sure.
But I was funny.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what they thought is like, yeah, you're shy, but you're funny. You could say funny things.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself social or antisocial now?
I'm social with people that I'm close to.
Right.
Like if it's like come out to this big thing with a bunch of people that you don't know.
That's mostly what I mean.
Yeah, I'm not about that. But if it's like we're going to go have happy hour.
I think that's so funny because I find that there's a giant percentage of entertainers that are like that.
Yeah.
Where we just don't want to be around people that we don't know, but when we're around people we know, we're very different.
Yeah.
Which is so strange because it's our job to entertain people we don't know. Which it's so strange, right?
But to me that's contextual, right? It's like I'm on now and this is the role that I'm taking on and I can escape into that and be that person, as opposed to just like I'm just me right now and I don't want to entertain anyone. I just want to sit here and be quiet for a minute.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
The way that I always thought was I was just like, you know, whenever I go to a concert of like, let's say I go to, I don't know, fill in a blank of a band that you like or whatever, and you're at their show and you're in the crowd and you're up in the front and you just hate your life because you're just around all these people that you don't know. They're sweating on you and freaking coughing and farting on you. And you're just like, I just want to get out. And I just want the Backstreet Boys to come out, sing freaking...
I want it that way.
I want it that
Yeah.
way so I can go home, you know, and that's it. But the irony is that if I were on the other side, it would be a completely different story.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is so weird. Mm-hmm. But what made you want to start doing improv? Was it your friend, or was it because you saw a show and you were like, oh, I could do this? Or
I guess it was just I wanted to try a new thing, you know, which I guess the whole point of improv is just say yes. So
Yeah.
Which I didn't know when I said yes to it, but I just wanted to try something new. And I had been creative in some capacity for most of my life. I danced when I was really young. I had music. I did acting in high school. I did a little bit of acting and dance in college. And I had really lost that like creative outlet in my life other than writing. But even that I wasn't doing consistently or for any purpose. And so I think it was maybe just looking for something creative to do so I could fill that area of my life that had been full for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You started taking classes, I'm assuming.
I've never taken classes.
You've never taken classes?
Yeah.
You just started...
I'm actually kind of like... I actually feel really weird about that. Like everyone that I know who does improv, save a very few people, have taken classes and done classes, and I think that's wonderful. And like, yes, go learn. Like, that's amazing. I've trained with some extremely great improvisers, and I've taken workshops and things like that, but I've never taken a formal class of any kind, really.
Yeah. To be fair, every performance is a class.
Yeah.
Every time you're rehearsing, it's a class.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing.
Yeah. And I have a lot of, I don't want to say shame, because I don't feel ashamed about it, but I think it's that idea of like, I do a job because I trained on the job to do the job, as opposed to I do the job because I went to school to do the job and now I do the job. The job is getting done either way, and both paths are valuable to doing that job. But I think if you're on one path, you kind of think about, maybe I should have done it another way or something.
I completely understand what you mean. And even in real life situations.
Right.
Like not even just improv. I mean, in the sense of like, you go to business school to be an accountant and then you can't get a job because you have no experience. And it's like, because I've been in school for 4 years learning how to be an accountant.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
right. As opposed to people who just go out and become
an accountant,
entry-level accountants, and then they work their way up. Like,
exactly.
Either way, the job is getting done. And I don't think one way is necessarily better than the other. It's just what's the path that you take that works for you at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's funny that we're talking about this because I don't know how it's going to change in the future, but I think it's starting to get to a point where I think for many jobs, education and school matter, but it's also getting to a point where it doesn't matter in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I think about that a lot. I mean, I'm in education. I'm a professor in real life. So obviously education is something I value in my own life.
We are in real life.
But but also something that I value just as a principle.
Yeah.
And I think there's
not
a lot.
As a principal, not as a principal of a school.
PLE, not PAL. Yeah.
Not a principal.
Not a principal, right.
Yeah.
But I do think about that a lot. And I've had conversations with students of like, I don't know if this is the path for you right now.
Yeah.
I do think education is valuable, but I don't think we're being honest with students and saying it's not your path right now. Right now, maybe you should go work, or right now go travel, or right now you're not ready for school, but maybe you'll get there after working for 2 or 3 years or moving somewhere or whatever. I think we try to shove them into a mold that isn't for everybody.
That's definitely true. And
Yeah.
I definitely think that, because I have immigrant parents, and I have a feeling that because they work so hard to get to where they are.
They think hard work looks a specific way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's crazy because now hard work means, posting an Instagram video.
Yeah.
So it could mean so many different things now, but it's really, really strange. This whole, our whole generation, at least our particular generation, is weird right now because it's just like you can't really get a grip on it,
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
It's
It's hard to instill the value of education when you can be Instagram famous. Like, that's a real thing that you can get paid money to do. I have a former student when I was teaching high school who is, I don't know if she's a model or an influencer. She is something on Instagram.
There was a podcast I was listening to with Josh Peck, and he was talking to the creator of Instagram.
Okay.
And he said this thing that just sounded so real, and it was awesome, but it was like depressing at the same time. Where he was like, I don't know if you realize this, but I can go back home and I can get all of the codes to the app that I created and delete them, and millions of people's lives would be ruined.
That's sobering.
It's cool because you're just like, yeah, you're right. But then it's super depressing because, like, you start thinking about it. Like, there's just going to be a lot of people applying for Starbucks jobs, because what else can you do other than whatever inspirational thing you're going to say while you're showing your boobs? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Right. So, I don't know, man. It's a weird, weird time.
But not only that, if that's what you're doing to make your money, that's fine. But you're also opening yourself up to everyone else on the internet who wants to hate you for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing I don't think I could handle is, like, I'm here for support. Like, if you're super into whatever, a pet shelter, and you, like, want to rep it all over your Instagram and I don't care.
Yeah.
Because that's a genuine thing, and I'm cool with that. But then, like, every second of your life is up for scrutiny, and everybody else is just trying to, like, find a little thing to make themselves feel not as crappy.
Yeah.
And to bring that person down, it's just, that seems really hard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a little bit better at that because it was really hard for me at first. But then my buddy David was telling me, he was like, look, no matter what you do, especially when you're posting like YouTube videos of something, you're always going to get dislikes. You have to look at it as if the percentage of likes is a little bit higher, that means that what you did was successful. Because there's always just going to be those douchebags that are like, dislike because I feel like it.
Yeah.
And
Right.
like have no reason. They just do it. I can't tell you how many YouTube videos I've seen, countless, and I have never, ever felt like putting a comment on that video.
Same.
Like,
I'll read them.
Yeah, I'll read them too.
Yeah. But yeah,
I
same.
have never felt inspired enough that someone was so bad that I had to tell them, or inspired enough that someone was so good that I had to tell them.
Same.
If it is something that I was like actually inspired by, most of the time I'll try to go to something more personal. Like I would go to a Twitter page or something like that instead of a YouTube comment section, because to me, a YouTube comment section is like the alley of like Gotham City, where it's just like awful looking.
It's the garbage can in the alley of Gotham City. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the scum of the earth. And then 2 or 3 people that love Selena Gomez are there as well. Because for some reason they have to tell you how much they love Selena Gomez on a Nickelodeon Rewind video, which makes no sense. But yeah. And also there was an app a while back called Vine. And Vine.
Oh, Vine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I came up with this thing to try to get more followers, and it worked. And it was this idea of like, I will sing any song you want for you. Because for me, all I had to do was sing a song for 6 seconds. Like, I didn't have to learn the whole song. I could just learn a really quick hook and send it to the person. But I would put it up publicly, but then like at the person and say, hey, I sang this for this person, whatever. And it was really beneficial. And sure, I got a lot of people telling me what they thought about how I looked, how I dressed, how overweight I was, how whatever it was. But the person who asked for me to sing that song would always say, oh my gosh, you made my day better.
Right.
You know, and
That's
to me,
matters.
it made me learn, oh, that is the only person that matters.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, I don't care what any of these other people have to say about it because I'm not singing a song for your stupid thoughts.
Right.
You know?
I mean, I read my comments on Rate My Professor.
Is that a thing?
It is a thing. It's 100% a thing. They took away the chili pepper.
Oh my gosh.
But it's,
what is this even? What is
it's
that?
still a
There's
thing.
a chili pepper? What is that?
There was a chili pepper.
What is that?
I heard that the chili pepper was like if the professor is hot, which is not appropriate,
What?
but also hilarious.
This is
They took that
the
away.
craziest thing.
You've never heard of Rate My Professor?
Okay, hang on a second. You are episode 19. This is by far the craziest thing I've ever had to talk about on this podcast.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Please tell me everything about this. Why didn't we start with this?
Okay. So Rate My Professor is a website where you can go on and rate your professor. You can read about professors. I never made one for myself, but I had one.
So make a profile?
So someone must have rated me, and then I went on to see if I had been rated, and I had been, and then I could go in and confirm that that was me. Yeah, and you rate them, like it's a 1 through 5 like rating, and they can write comments and stuff, and some of the things are like, is the class easy or hard? If you come late, it'll never pass. Is the professor like funny? Blah, blah, blah. So I read the comments on that, and I don't have a ton of them, but it will send me spinning for days. Like if I get a negative comment, I will spin out for days.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I can't imagine like Vine videos and YouTube videos.
I certainly
and all kinds of
don't.
things.
I certainly don't want to open wounds for you. But can you share a couple of things that people have said?
My favorite one is that they rated me all ones, but said very nice things. So they just didn't read the rating system.
Or they think you're number one.
Or they just didn't. Yeah, I think they just didn't read or understand the rating system. So that also makes me mad because I'm like, no, but my rating is actually higher, but they just didn't understand the rating system. I do have a couple of she's funny, which I like. One student, actually the one that I hold in my heart that makes me feel happy is every assignment that she gives you actually makes you learn something. So that's the one I take away.
That's good.
Yeah.
At least one person thinks that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So how many of these students said you were hot?
I don't know. They took it away.
They took it away?
The chili pepper doesn't exist anymore.
I was going to say, if it were more of like a YouTube or a Vine kind of situation, I don't think the chili pepper would matter. They'd tell you in the comment section.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Whether they thought you were hot or not.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That also reminds me, do you remember the website Hot or Not?
I remember that it was a thing.
Like, why would anyone ever do that to themselves?
Did you not you specifically, but people put their own picture up there and then you just said that if they were hot or not?
Yeah. It's as simple as it sounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
I must have done that. Not put myself on there. I would never do that.
Yeah.
Because I would be devastated. The first person who was like not hot, I would be like, "Why? What's going on? What do you mean I'm not hot?
I'm almost 100% sure that the creator of Hot or Not was Mark Zuckerberg.
Really?
Yeah, I'm almost 100% sure. And also, I do remember that there wasn't a comment section. It was just a rating system of just like 1 through 10. Whether you thought the person was ice cold or hot.
Yeah.
So strange, man. And then we wonder why
world,
our
yeah.
generation is shallow.
Yeah.
You know, like, and we wonder why the hit show on MTV is How Shallow Are You? You know? MTV's How Shallow Are You? We'll be back in 10 minutes, you know, or whatever. It's just like the worst. But anyway, going back to improv with you, When did Society Circus Players start?
We just celebrated year 5.
Holy cow, so you started 2 years after you started.
Yeah, so I was with another group at that time. The person who was leading that group left, and then we kind of picked up and formed Society Circus Players from there.
Yeah. With
whoever was left over. And then, we've been around 5 years officially. Officially a company for 2 years, I think. But we've been performing as Society Circus Players for 5.
I've actually been to a couple of your shows. I don't know. The first one I went to, I don't think was a Society Circus Players show. I think it was just you and Dash, I think.
Maybe.
And then I saw the one that you guys did at Artistic Vibes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the like kind of Avengers.
The Battle Prov show.
Yeah, the Battle Prov show.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
We did a Battle Prov show with Simpane at Artistic Vibes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good one. For
Thank
sure.
you.
That was super fun.
That was super fun for us, too.
Yeah. Since you've been doing improv for so long, do you have any funny stories, like any funny stage memories or embarrassing memories or anything like that?
I'm sure I've done embarrassing things on stage.
Sure.
I'm sure. And usually it's one of those things where I'll like say something and not realize how it sounds. Mm-hmm. And then once it hits the air, I realize how it sounds. And I'm like,
yeah. That's comedy, by the way.
That's not what I meant.
That's comedy.
Yeah, that's not what I meant.
That's comedy at its truest form. Is saying something and not realizing what it sounds like until it's already been said.
Yep. And then you're like, no, come back.
Yeah.
No.
People's feelings are already hurt.
Right.
And you're just like, okay, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah. I mean, we're family friendly more so than I think some of the other groups.
Of course,
playing.
yeah.
So there's nothing too awful in terms of like terrible language or like overtly sexual things and stuff that. But yeah, sometimes something will come out of my mouth and I'm like, why did you?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. I also don't remember shows specifically unless I like rewatch them. Like once it's done, I'm like, that was fun and now we're done with that.
Let me tell you, you just reminded me of something. I was doing a show with an improv team a long time ago. I can't remember how long this was, but it was a while back. And our team, for the most part, was struggling with the idea. They thought they were struggling with the fact that they had been doing a lot of blue humor and, swearing a lot. So as a team collectively, we were like, let's just have a clean show. And we went on stage. And the only person who swore or did any of that was me. Now, the reason why that's funny is because we went backstage after the show, and one of the guys was like, I find it really ironic that the guy that never swears and never does any of that, the moment we say we're having a clean show, it's the dirtiest he's ever been. And I was just like, I don't know, man. I think it's because I have a problem with authority. I think it's because the moment someone says you can't do that, I'm like, I'm going to prove that I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of awful. But yeah, I want to say this was your actual anniversary show that Dash was talking about, where you guys were playing this game and he was talking about making a lobster roll or something.
Oh my god, yeah.
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 So
he's allergic to shellfish.
Right.
But my argument is that we had just been to Maine and several of us had ordered lobster rolls so he could observe what it was. And he thought that it was some sort of a sushi roll.
Yeah.
So he's like making it in the scene or whatever, and he's grabbing rice.
Right. Well, fake rice.
Right. And I was like, what? Do you think there's rice in a sushi roll or in a lobster roll? And he's like, yeah. I do love it when like real life sneaks into the stage and you can just make fun of the person and and everyone just laughs. Yeah, it really is the best. That's the absolute best.
Yeah. That happened to me one time where somebody we were doing a scene on we were on some date, like a double date kind of a thing. And the suggestion that we made that we asked for was like, oh, they're out on a double date and give us a suggestion of what they're doing. And somebody said they're playing, I want to say that they were playing racquetball, right? And I've never played racquetball, and I don't know what that is. So I was there with this girl pretending like I'm on this date, and I'm like picking up this giant ball because I was like, at least I could just make fun of like the monstrosity of like, you know, whatever. And she's like talking and like making and like doing like little things, and I'm picking up this like this like fake huge ball and throwing it to the other side, and she's like, how big are these balls? And I was like, I don't know. I've never played. And then somebody was like, they made some reference of like, you know, no, man, you got those big, like, you know, those gym balls where you stretch on them.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, no, the racquetball is this. And it's like, and I was like, oh, I had no freaking clue. I've never played racquetball before. That happens all the time where it's just like somebody says, oh, your job is that you fix cars, and you don't know about car parts at all.
For
so
sure.
You're just like, yeah, the freaking flux capacitor and like, you know, whatever.
Right.
And people are like, the flux capacitor, like the thing from Back to the Future.
100%.
Yeah, it's always real fun whenever that happens. What would you say is the best show that you can remember that you've ever had?
The best show I can remember that I've ever had. We had a show where we debuted, we called it the rom-com.
That's awesome.
And it's an improvised romantic comedy. You know, there's the meet cute and all of that stuff.
Love it.
And at the end, when the couple actually met, because the whole time, just like in any romantic comedy, right? It ends with them meeting and you realizing like, okay, they're gonna, these are the ones. At the end, when they actually met each other, the whole audience just goes, "Aww."
Nice.
And that happened a couple of times. That's a cool feeling because you took people on a journey, and like, yes, it was funny, but you can also have other feelings.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Like, that's one of the great things about improv, I think, is yes, it's funny and like people want to be here to laugh and we can create this cool thing together, but it's okay to feel other feelings too.
Yeah.
And I've had scenes mostly in rehearsal. I don't know if it's ever happened to me in a show. I've had scenes where I turn away from whatever was happening in that scene and I'm like, I need a second. Like, I was so emotionally in that moment that I need a second to like not be that person for a couple of seconds and remember like, who am I? This is improv. That was made up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not actually in love.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I totally know how you feel. Do you have any moments where you were like, wow, that was a horrible moment, you know, or that kind of a thing, or like that was a real bad show? Do you have anything like that?
I've had pieces in shows where I thought maybe it wasn't great.
Sure.
But in general, I like to think that, you know, what we put out is something that is of quality.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think a lot of times improvisers will be like, oh, the audience was this or the audience was that. It's not their fault. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the audience is one person or if the audience is 1,000 people. Like, that's what our job is to make it a good experience for everybody. And I think in that mentality, we're all doing the best that we can. And sometimes for me, the moments that don't work are the ones where we're just not meshing. We're all just trying to do too much of a thing for whatever that reason is, right? Like, I have a lot of people in the audience, so I'm trying to like flex a little bit, or this is my favorite game, so I really want to just like attack and be in it. It's like those moments when you're just not being genuine and you're not being a team player that kind of just put a bad taste in my mouth. Yeah. But you realize that's what's happening and you move on and try better next time.
Yeah, that's definitely something that improv is really good at doing for you if you're in it, because it really just doesn't work unless you're all together in it at the same time. Because any moment where your ego gets too inflated or someone else's ego gets inflated, it starts to become... I don't even know how to describe it. Like, it could become...
It's just not fun anymore. Like, it's not fun to watch. It's not fun to play. You're just like, okay, this is your show.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I'll support you because that's what improvisers do, but
yeah,
I want to have fun too.
Yeah, it's real strange. Like, it reminds me of, like, did you ever see the movie Don't Think Twice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually went together as a team.
I feel like that's a very improviser field trip movie.
It definitely was, yeah.
But yeah, every character is someone from an improv team that you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's that person who's super talented but is too shy to show it. There's that person who needs to be the center of attention and doesn't care about being in the scene and just cares about being funny, which a lot of people would argue is me in the situation, you know, because that's kind of how I do improv a lot of the time. And then there's the person who's taught improv and has gone nowhere in their life and is just the teacher of doing improv. Mm. There's like all these different kinds of characters and they're all real people.
Yeah.
It's an interesting movie. If you've never seen it, listener, you should definitely watch it.
Yeah, watch it.
Real good.
It's on Netflix I think it's on Netflix now.
Yeah.
You can watch it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Anything Mike Birbiglia does is always really great. This episode of Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes is brought to you by Liquid Death. Liquid Death is 100% premium mountain water straight from the Alps. It has natural electrolytes and minerals, and it comes in an ice-cold, infinitely recyclable can. Visit liquiddeath.com or go to amazon.com to pick yourself up a 12-pack of Tall Boys. Liquid Death Mountain Water.
Murder your thirst.
And ripping this page from the Josh Peck Curious Podcast Diary, what would you say are your Ali Garcia commandments? Truths that you want to impart to other people in some way, shape, or form?
I guess, one, education is important. Learning is important. Not just like formal learning in a classroom, but learn about yourself, learn about other people, learn as much as you can, learn something every day. Be kind to people, be open. A lot of, if you walk through the world with open arms, most of the time you will have a positive experience. I've been a lot of different places and I find that my attitude really dictates what happens to me in those places. And it's always just been a really positive experience. Travel as much as you can. Don't just stay where you are, but go to another town, go to another state, get on an airplane and go somewhere. It's really, really important to learn about other people and other places and have as much fun as you can, I guess. Yeah. Eat as much cereal as you can.
That's awesome. Where can people find you online? And also, where can people find Society Circus Players as well?
So I am at @AliK_Ali G on Instagram and Twitter. My Instagram is private, though, just because I'm an educator, and I was an educator in high school for a long time. So I just didn't want students following me. And we are at Society Circus on Instagram. We have a Twitter that exists. I'm not sure what it is, but at Society Circus and scpimprov.com is our website.
Awesome. And for me, you can find me at Instagram at Mike Valdes, on Twitter at I am Mike Valdes. You can go to whoismikevaldes.com to find out the answer to that question. And that's it. This has been an episode. Ali, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate you. This was really fun. Tell all your friends to listen so we can grow this family. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Bye, besties.